Good evening. My name's Chuck Iovan, and I'll be presiding over this evening's meeting of the Planning Board, April 12th, 2023. The first thing I'm going to do is read that for those in attendance under the provision of the open meeting law, attendees are informed that this meeting is being recorded by Urban Media Arts, formerly MATV. I have not been notified that any other video or audio recording of this meeting will occur. The next thing we'll do is we'll start with Ronnie, and we'll do our roll call.
Ronnie Raj Verma, Planning Board.
Risa Gray, Planning Board.
Ken Antonucci, Planning Board.
Chuck Iovan, Planning Board.
Eric McCush, Planning Board.
Pat Hayes, Planning Board.
Eric Henry, Planning Board.
Stephanie Stone, Planning Board.
Thank you very much. The first item on the agenda this evening is 410 Ferry Street. Ken, would you mind reading the announcement?
The Malden Planning Board will hold a public hearing in the Herbert L. Jackson Council Chamber, Malden City Hall, 215 Pleasant Street, Malden, Mass. at 7 p.m. on Wednesday, April 12th, 2023, on the petition of Ronnie Teixeira of Ronnie Construction, Inc., permit application number RES 054907 of 2023, seeking a special permit under Title 12, Chapter 28, Section 10D1 of the Code of the City of Malden, to alter, structurally change, extend, and change use of a pre-existing non-conforming property in the Residence A zoning district, namely to construct a dormer and addition to the third floor, reconstruct and extend a two-story porch deck, renovate and convert the existing building from medical laboratory use to a two-family dwelling at the property known as and numbered 410 Ferry Street, Malden, and by a city assessor's parcel ID number 084-403-301.
Thank you, Ken. Is the petitioner present? Would you come up and speak at the podium? First, if you could give us your name and address for the record, and make sure you speak into the microphone, please.
Hi, my name is Ronnie. I'm the owner of the property on 410 Ferry Street, and I'm here to, change of use the property on Ferry Street, which used to be, when it was prior to build, you probably already know that, it was a two-family before, and then became to one family and a lab, and then turned into the full lab for the whole place. So now we're gonna go back to a two-family as it was done when it was built before.
Okay, so can you describe the renovations that you're doing? I know we heard this case a couple months ago, but you were looking to expand to a three-family.
Yeah.
If you could describe, to refresh everyone's memory, what it is you're proposing and how it's different this time as a two-family. What's some of the things you might have taken out, or what you're doing that converts it to a two-family?
Well, if you look at the plans, it was gonna be like two dormers, and now I'm doing only one dormer to make the third floor, to put the two bedrooms there. I was gonna do a kitchen up there. When I was, the prior was like for the three family, I was gonna have a kitchen on the third floor. Now we took that kitchen out, so I'm not doing the two dormers anymore, so I'm just doing one dormer so I can put two bedrooms upstairs and one bathroom. So that was the change, and I'm enlarging the deck a little bit more than it was previous before. And I'm making two playrooms in the basement to add into the first floor apartment. So the second floor will be second and third floor for the second apartment. and the first apartment will be first floor and basement.
Okay, a question about the basement. In looking at it, why do you have a full basement, a full bathroom in the basement? I noticed that you have one full and one half on the first floor, one full and one half on the second floor, and then a full on the third floor.
Well,
Why do you need it also in the basement?
Well, it's always convenient to have two bathrooms. You know, if more than one person wants to take a shower, it's always good to have it. Like, I have one in my own home, and it's terrible when, you know, more than one person wants to take a shower. It's always good to have another bathroom so you can take a shower as the same. You know, if you're in a hurry to go to some place and more people in the house wants to take a shower, I mean, you got two full bathrooms. That will be a plus for you to, you know.
Right, but in this property, you're gonna have four full bathrooms and two half bathrooms.
Yes, yeah.
What I'm worried about, to be honest with you, in looking at it, right, is we got a full bathroom in the basement. We've got this playroom that's, well, two playrooms that are pretty big. And I'm worried about that turning into an apartment.
Okay.
With the bathroom in there, and that's what my main concern is. I'd also like to hear a little bit about why we've got two playrooms in the basement.
I mean, she just put a playroom that's not like, because she did, when she made the plan, she wrote a playroom, but that can be like an extra living room downstairs for TV and stuff like that, you know? Because she just wrote that like playroom, because, you know, she didn't know what to write on that.
Well, how will it be utilized? Will both units have access to the two playrooms?
No, just the first floor,
So just the first floor?
just the first floor.
So the second floor unit second and third floor units won't have any access to the laundry?
No, the laundry's gonna be only for the first floor.
Okay. How far are you along now as far as renovating? I know you've pretty much demoed most of it.
I would say like 2 months, if that, the most will be completely.
So 2 more months to finish the demo?
Yeah, oh no, the damage's all done. You know, to do the construction, it would take, you know, roughly like a month and a half to 2. So it all depends, because, I mean, when you depend on other people like plumbers and electricians, they, you know, they're usually not on time. So that's what the people that usually delays your job, it's those two guys, because they never on time, unfortunately. You know, but, you know, if they go fast, we can even do that with, you know, a little over a month, I would say. Because the, you know, there is not a lot of structural work being done besides the dormer. It's just like building walls inside, so it's not gonna be like a lot of work done, you know, besides the dormer itself, which is gonna be a little more work, but other than that, it's not gonna be a lot of work, so. Because putting walls up, it's, you know, it's pretty fast, so.
Okay, and the parking, you're showing ample parking for the number of bedrooms
Yes.
that you're looking?
Yes, the 6 parking, it's for the number of bedrooms.
For the
so
six
that's what's-
bedrooms?
That's what's, you know.
Okay. Okay, does anyone else have any questions for the petitioner? Eric McCush.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You said these upper floor units won't have access to the basement playroom, so to speak, but will they have the access to the mechanical room if they need to go down and hit the circuit breaker or anything like that?
Well, I'm gonna see if I can put the, whatever it's on the second floor, like the HVAC and the electrical panel is gonna be on the third floor.
Oh, okay.
Because there's gonna be a space there for that, so they're not gonna have to go down in the basement to get those. So we're gonna, somehow accommodate stuff up there, so they don't have to go in the basement.
Okay.
Because the unit on HVAC, it's pretty small, so you can fit that. As you can see, if you see on the third floor, there's a little door there that goes over the kitchen on the second floor, which, the machines can be over that part.
Okay. So they don't use the access to the basement for anything?
No, they don't need to, so.
Okay, thank you.
you-
Okay, Ken Antonucci.
Okay, thank you. So essentially, you've got two units, two two-floor units. So the first floor and basement is part of the first unit, and the second and third floors of the second unit.
Yes.
So, and you don't plan on putting any larger windows or anything down in the basement, right? It
No,
looks like there's just two
no.
hopper windows?
No, just those two windows.
Okay, I mean, aside from other reasons. I mean,
Yeah, I
you
know, if
need-
I put a bigger window, I can put a bedroom down there, I
Yeah,
understand
glazing,
that
so
point,
you
yeah,
understand there's no,
yeah.
that's just one reason why it can't be.
Yeah, I
among
know that,
others. Okay,
yeah.
all right.
Yeah, I'm not planning to do that, no.
Okay. And then you just have, I can't tell from the drawing, is there an exit from the basement? to
Yeah, so
grade?
if you look on the far back, when the playroom, you see a door there.
Okay, yeah, it's a little faded, so that's a door
On the far end, yeah,
Okay.
there's a door there,
at the far end, all right.
yeah.
Okay, yeah. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Let's see, elevation. There it is.
So if I read this correctly, the dormers will add about 120 square feet.
No, that was prior before, I had the, I think she gave it to you there. She had to make some change. It was actually 600 and, hold on, I got it here. On the page that, it's 626 square feet. Because that 1,100, that was before on the three-family. Now it's gonna be only 600. So it would be a total for the second floor, 1731 for the second floor.
Oh, okay,
On
thank
a
you.
new page that, she just gave it to you there.
Okay. Okay, any other questions for the petitioner? No other questions for the petitioner? Is there anything you'd like to add, sir? Is there anything you'd like to add?
No?
Okay, thank you very much. At this time, we'd like to entertain anyone that would like to speak in favor of this petition. Anyone to speak in favor? Michelle, do you have anything to read in favor?
No.
Thank you. Seeing and hearing no one wishes to speak in favor, declare that part of the hearing closed. Is there anyone that would like to speak in opposition of this petition? Anyone speak in opposition? Michelle, anything to read in opposition?
No.
Thank you. If we see no one and hearing no one that would like to speak in opposition, declare that part of the hearing closed. Michelle, can you take us through your staff report and recommendation, please?
Yes. So this is the report and recommendation dated April 12th, 2023. I will not read it verbatim, but it is incorporated herein by reference into the record of the hearing. We heard about the site. There is an existing 2.5-story building that's under interior renovations. I've given you the permit number. They do have a permit to do the interior renovations. There's a note in here that talked about some issues with existing trash, debris, and litter. That was taken care of by the petitioner. In your package, the first few pages of pictures are when I went out there last week, so you can see some of the issues that were on site. At the last set of photos in the package are photos the petitioner provided from the other day showing that the site had been cleaned up, so you can see that for your reference. We heard about the petition. I will note in the staff report, I did not indicate the total for Unit 1 is, according to the plans, is 22,210. So basement and first floor are being combined, those two 1105 square footages. The plans that were submitted are listed here. I do want to note that today the petitioner submitted a revised set of plans dated April 12th, 2003. Those plans made the corrections that I had noted in Note 2, specifically regarding the square footage of the attic floor. So what you've been given tonight is not a new full set of plans, but you have pages, the cover page, you have sheet A100, which shows the gross floor areas of the proposed units, and also new sheet A108, which is the large page you have. So all the other plans in that set were unchanged, but those two pages had changes. If you move forward to approve the special permit, it will be also approving the full set of plans that are dated April 12th, 2023. In terms of zoning and occupancy, the property is located in the Residence A zoning district. The current or most recent use was medical laboratory. That was allowed by special permit in case 88-32. The proposed two-family residential use is prohibited in this district. It may be allowed by special permit as a conversion from a non-conforming use, which is what this petition is before you. Direct abutters to the northwest are single-family dwellings. To the east, on the other side of Harvard Street, a two-family dwelling is a two-family dwelling. To the south, on the other side of Ferry Street, is a single-family dwelling and four-family dwelling. Surrounding land uses are residential, mostly single and two-family dwellings, several three and multifamily dwellings. I did also want to mention, I forgot to mention, this current petition is a new petition. It's substantively different from the previous petition that you heard in February and denied in case 23-02. So this current petition is not precluded by law as a repetitive petition. This is a new petition. In terms of dimensional controls, and it's a new petition because it's proposing a different use. It's proposing a two-family, not a three-family. So on its face, it's different. Dimensional controls, the existing building grossly violates dimensional controls for lot area, front, one side yard, and rear yard setbacks. It's considered pre-existing non-conforming. The proposal exacerbates the existing violation of lot area, creates a new nonconformity of density and height, and maintains the front side, one side, and rear yard setback violations. I've given you the breakdown here in terms of the violations and what the deficiencies are. In terms of open space, you have a site plan that depicts where the open space is. The open space proposed does comply with usable open space requirements for all districts except for the dimensions. In terms of parking requirements, the proposed two-family dwelling complies with parking requirements to provide 6 spaces. That's 1 space per bedroom. You see the parking layout on the site plan. And finally, regarding the demolition and alteration delay ordinance, the proposal was reviewed for the Malden Historical Commission pursuant to the city's demolition and alteration delay ordinance, which is under Title 4.24 of the Code of the City of Malden. The proposal was approved, subject to the requirements of the decision dated April 3rd, 2023. You have a copy of that decision in your package, and specifically that the building's existing front facade and columns shall be maintained. The finding required to grant a special permit, you must find that the proposal is not more detrimental to the neighborhood. If you make that finding, the recommendation is to grant the petition for a special permit subject to the following conditions. 1, all development shall be as per plans except as modified by these conditions. 2, the maximum number of bedrooms is 6. 3, the front porch and balcony and rear porches, decks may not be enclosed. 4, basement may be used for storage, utilities, laundry, and living or playroom. No bedroom or kitchen are allowed. 5, compliance with the recommendations and requirements of the determination of the Malden Historical Commission in the decision dated April 3rd, 2023, per Title 4.24 of the Code of the City of Malden, to maintain the front facade and columns of the existing building. The decision is incorporated herein by reference. And then 6, install and maintain all open spaces, lawn, grass, and landscaped in yard areas as per plan. Paving shall be limited to the parking area shown on the plan.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. And sir, you understand these conditions? Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Michelle? If not, is there a motion? Tanucci.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to grant the petition for special permit.
Ken's made a motion to grant it. Eric McCush.
I'll second that motion.
Could you clarify if this is a motion subject to the conditions recommended, or it's just to grant the special permit?
Okay, I'd like to revise what I said. Make a motion to grant the petition for a special permit based on the planning recommendation and the 6 conditions.
And I will still second that.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you, guys. Let me try to cue some people up here. Okay, Michelle?
Ken Antonucci,
Yes?
Tawadich Geber Selassie,
Yes.
Risa Gray,
Yes.
Patrick Hayes. Eric Henry. Eric McCush.
Yes.
Stephanie Stone. Ronnie Raj Verma.
Yes.
Chuck Iovan.
Yes, petition's been granted with conditions. Thank you. Give me 1 second, Ken. No. Okay. Ken, if you can read the notice, appreciate it. Thank you.
The Malden Planning Board will hold a public hearing in the Herbert L. Jackson Council Chamber, Malden City Hall, 215 Pleasant Street, Malden, Mass. At 7 p.m. on Wednesday, April 12, 2023, on the petition of James Motzkin, trustee of the Saratoga Trust and the Malden Realty Trust. Permit application number CMID 051372-2022, seeking a special permit under Title 12, Chapter 28, Section D1 of the Code of the City of Malden to reconstruct, extend, and structurally change a pre-existing non-conforming property in use in the Residence A zoning district, namely to demolish the existing dwelling and construct a new building for continued use as a four-family dwelling at a proposed development site to be comprised of two existing parcels to be combined. The property known as and numbered 76 Granville Avenue, Malden, Mass., and by City Assessors Parcel ID number 104712208, and the property known as Granville Place, no number, Malden, Mass., and by City Assessors Parcel ID number 104712206.
Thank you very much, Ken. Is the petitioner present?
Yes, my name is
Give me-
Jonathan
Give me one
Stone.
second, thank you.
Sorry.
No, I was just going to ask you, can she join if she?
Not if she didn't have a testimony. I don't know if
Okay. Okay, let the record reflect that Stephanie Stone and Ronnie Verma will be participating in this petition. Thank you. Go ahead, sir. Name and address for the record, please.
My name is Jonathan Stone from O'Sullivan Architects at 606 Main Street in Reading, Massachusetts. I'm here on behalf of James Monskin and the Saratoga Trust to present the petition for the 76 Granville Ave parcel. The residence at 76 Granville Ave is already a pre-existing four-family, which we propose to continue as 4 units. The further propose to reconstruct the existing structure as well as construct an addition as an extension to the already pre-existing non-conforming structure. The plans we have presented will give you the detail of the project, showing that our proposal will have a positive impact on the surrounding area while not being more detrimental to the neighborhood. And we seek your approval for a special permit to allow this renovation of the property. I can go over the plans. I believe everybody has the plans.
Well, the first question I have is, on the plans that I reviewed earlier that were submitted, it says that the building's to be raised, and you just presented that it's going to be renovated.
Renovation to the project, but the purpose is to reconstruct the existing structure. So it's going to be raised and reconstructed.
So you're going to tear the building down
Yes.
and you want to build another unit
Yes.
property, okay?
Yes, on the same footprint that exists now with an extension to that.
Okay.
You got that?
No, when you say raise, I don't consider that a renovation.
Oh, sorry. Did I say raised? I thought I said
Well, on the plan that I reviewed, it says to be raised.
Oh, on the site plan. We're going to tear down, demolish, and reconstruct. That's what we're going to do.
Okay.
So we propose to reconstruct the existing non-conforming structure within the same footprint. However, now it is going to contain 3 units, as you can see on that first plan. On that sheet 1 of 6. The first floor will consist of a 2-bedroom unit. It's approximately 1,100 square feet in size. It's the orange shaded area on that first plan, in addition to a corridor for a stairwell with access to the upper floors.
Could I just, for the record, I want to make sure everyone's looking at the correct set of plans, because you've received a couple different sets, and we just received a new set yesterday. So the date of that plan is, I just want to make sure you're all looking at the correct set of plans. The new plan has a date on it, April 6th, 2023. Yes, that package, right. The other set has not changed, to my knowledge, that contains the topographic plan and demolition plan. Of what? Of the topo plans, the civil set. Yeah, they have that. I mean, as long as there've been no changes. I hadn't received any new changes to that. We just want to make sure everyone's looking at the correct plans.
What date did you say?
The April 6th. Yeah, so it wasn't folded, it's not folded, it should be sticking out of the folder. See the next one? Yes, that's the one. So they look the same, but they're not. So just make sure you have the correct one. Thank you.
I want to find the right plan that I'm supposed to be looking at first, and then this is December 5th, too. Why is this such a problem with the plans?
We don't have it, this is it, so,
These are December 5th, though, right?
yes. Topographic plan set does still have that other date on it.
March 10th. Oh, April 6th. Okay, so this is it.
Yeah, the topo plan says December 5th, but it has a second date, March 9th, 2023. So make sure you're looking at that, but that's the only one I handed out, so you should have that.
Okay. Is everyone all set? Let the record reflect that Diane Chua has joined us, but she will not be participating in this hearing. Stephanie Stone will be. Thank you. Okay, you all set, Michelle?
I'm all set, thank you.
Okay, and sir, what else, what did you want to walk us through?
Thank you. All right. So it would be the set that we just talked about with the April 6th number on it. So the first page, it says 1 of 6. So as you can see on the first floor here, the orange shaded area, that is a 2-bedroom unit of 1,100 square feet, and there'll be a common hall with and a stairwell to provide access to the upper floors. This is in the existing structure. If you flip to page number 2 of that, 2 of 6, on the upper floors, there are 2 duplex-style units. One is the lighter tan color. The other is the darker, kind of a mauve color. They are both duplex units, and they have internal stairs to themselves going up to the half-story above that. And then we are proposing to extend the existing non-conforming structure with a townhouse unit, which is another 2-bedroom unit of approximately 1,300 square feet, and that would be the blue shaded areas, which are towards the back of the site. Okay. All right. Okay, so as for the extension itself, as for the existing building itself, we're rebuilding, reconstructing with 3 2-bedroom units within that building. The extension itself will have another 2-bedroom townhouse unit into it. It was clear from the concern from the neighbors and the board the last time the size was the condition of the addition. So we revised the proposal, and the extension is reduced in length by 13 feet 4 inches, taking it from 48-foot 4 down to 35 feet, which is about a 12% decrease in the overall length of the entire structure. By doing that, we removed approximately 27.5% of the area of the addition itself. So it went from an 1,800 square foot unit down to a 1,300. So essentially, the building now consists on the front portion of the lot entirely. And we're essentially not going any longer than there's an existing retaining wall that wraps around the site right now. We're essentially not going any longer than that. So we will be no longer than the existing structures that exist on the site now.
And how much is it? It's still growing significantly, isn't it?
Excuse me?
Compared to what is there right now, it's still a significant increase. Is it not? Is it not 72% increase over what's existing right now?
No, it's not a 72% increase of what's existing now. It is, let's see. That may be the existing square footage of what's in the existing structure now. Is that what we're saying? Oh, yeah, so yeah, it could be that, yes, it could be that.
So you're going to increase almost 3,200 square feet, or 72%, over what's there on your replacement.
So we are going, if you look at the last sheet of that set, it'll give you what the existing building looks like. So that's approximately 3,000 or so square feet in that building. That's in existing conditions, so it's about 3,000 square feet, a little over that.
Okay.
And then we have we have in 4 units now of about 1,000 or a little over 1,000 square feet, so yes,
Okay. Thank you.
you're welcome. So in some response from the last meeting, we decided to make a few changes. We have relocated the entry stair at the front of the building in order to increase the front setback. The stairs now, in the existing condition, extend down directly to the sidewalk. We decided to turn those to the side and have access from the driveway, which gave us a front lawn area that could be landscaped and would increase the setback from essentially 0 to approximately 9 feet. There are also some concerns about all the guest parking was going to be provided by parking on the street. And we understand that, so we essentially didn't count this in our parking calculation, but we left enough room for cars to be parked behind the 2 front spaces that are at Granville Ave to kind of alleviate some of the stress put on the street itself.
Okay, and will those yard spots be, excuse me, I'm sorry. Are you talking about the side yard or the back of the lot?
That is off of Granville Ave, the front drive. So if you look at the sheet number 1, the first floor, there are 2 spaces that come off of the Granville Ave side, which would be the left of the sheet.
Right, but are those gonna be assigned to a specific unit?
They are not. They're just going to be guest spots.
So the 2 units are just guest spots? Or the tandem portion is guest spots?
Just the tandem portion is the guest spot. The 2 to the back of where they're numbered are for the units.
Do you anticipate a problem if person from unit 1 is in the first spot and a person from unit 3's?
Not a problem
Blocks
that,
them
not a problem that couldn't be resolved by saying, I have a person coming over, is it okay if we use the spot? It's more of a alleviation for the street, I think. It was to provide something for the public or a friend or coming over to say, hey, listen, can I park? My friend's coming over for a while. Is it okay if we park and use the guest spot? It would be a spot for the entire building.
Okay.
And then the last question, well, we had another comment brought up about trash locations and whether or not they were going to be visible from neighbors or anywhere else. And we didn't think it would be a good idea in order to just put an enclosure in the back of the site somewhere that would keep it out of sight. Essentially, that's not accomplishing keeping it out of sight. It's just a box with trash in it. So we provided a room off of under the building on the Granville Ave space side. It's essentially under the building. We'll have a gate, so it'll keep all of the trash, barrels and its stuff within that building, and nobody should see it from anywhere. So essentially, we went from, we reduced the number of bedrooms to 8. We were at 9 before. The addition, which was considered too large, was reduced by 27.5%. The length was reduced by 13'4", which increased our rear setback to over 100 feet. The reconstructed building and the extension should meet all of the zoning requirements. It actually will be better on the half-story. We're at 50% of the footprint now, and the existing structure is at about a 78%. So the half-story technically didn't meet the requirement of a half-story. Ours will. And I know last time we asked for a height. We didn't confirm the height, but I did confirm the average grade around the building, and we will be underneath the height of the building as well, zoning required. We increased the landscape area by 86 square feet. The usable open space from the last time was increased by 913 square feet, but we were up over 2,000 now. The front yard setback was increased up to 9 feet. And the retaining wall along the Granville Place side is still being removed so that we can provide some area for 2 cars to pass along the road, because right now there's not enough space. It's approximately 12 feet. It's kind of difficult to get down there with that retaining wall there. So we're proposing to remove the retaining wall and give that space. Most of it will be landscape, but provide an area, I think it's approximately 35 to 40 feet long, that will be gravel or something else so cars can get out of each other's way, because from what we understand right now, you cannot pass each other and somebody has to either get out of the way or back up. So we thought that would be a nice way to alleviate some of that. And by removing the stairs at the front corner, there's a problem when you come out of the street now. When you look up the street, there's a staircase that comes down that's fairly tall, and you can't really see when you're pulling around the corner. So by turning them to the side and gaining that extra front yard, let's call it, it alleviates that issue of trying to come out of that intersection, because we've heard that was a problem as well. So overall, we feel like we've reduced the size of the building. And then if you look at the last pictures, I showed some comparisons. The last page of these, the second to last 2 pages, there's comparisons of what we had before. There were comments made by finishes, some other finishes, we were proposing they be different in order to have it reduce the scale of the building. We alleviated that, so the top pictures are the new renderings, the bottom pictures are what we had before. So as you can see, we essentially removed the middle section of that addition entirely. We removed the garage below. There are no cars coming in and out of a garage on Granville Place any longer. That will be strictly for the trash room, so we won't have any issues with traffic coming in and out of there and causing problems. We reduced the length entirely, and we created more open space along that front side as well as in the back area by the reduction of just by the nature of reducing the length of the building. Are there questions about any changes or?
And that's the top line is the
The top line is the
new
revised.
one, right, okay.
Yeah.
I thought you said the bottom line was, and I'm looking at it and it looks bigger on the bottom.
No, the
line.
top, sorry. The top one is the revised.
And that walkway from the front driveway to the back area, that's gonna be pervious pavers?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, Eric McCush.
Started saying, you're just tearing down the building and using existing footprint, but you are extending the foundation.
We will be extending the foundation, yes.
Okay, thank you.
For the extension.
Michelle, do you have any questions? Oh, Ken Antonucci.
Actually, excuse me. So on the existing structure, I think I asked this last time, I don't remember what your answer was. Are you reusing the existing foundation? You taking the foundation out too?
We don't believe we're gonna be able to. We
Okay.
don't think it's gonna be savable, but we are gonna use the same shape
Okay.
and replace essentially.
Because the existing is that an old stone foundation?
I
so-
believe it is, yes.
That makes
I think it's
sense.
the same as the retaining wall that's there,
Yeah.
actually.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Michelle, do you have anything?
I just wanted, if you could clarify for the record, so these plans that we're looking at are dated April 6, 2023. We just received them yesterday, and I have not had a chance to go through them. Could you just identify for the record what's changed between these plans and the previous set that was dated March 10th, 2023? And again, this is specific to the plans prepared by O'Sullivan Architects.
So this,
Could you just state for the record, if you could summarize what, if any, changes are on these plans?
there were some clarifications made on some of the notes were referencing a three-bedroom unit that it's not that, so we just clarified some of that stuff. And some of the titles were saying three-unit entry, and they're not that. They're two-bedroom units now, not three-bedroom units now. So we just clarified some things like that between the March and the 6th submission.
So they were really just typographical
Yep.
things? There's no changes to the dimensions or size or anything like that? The layout of the units, all that is stayed the same? Okay.
Everything is the same, yeah. The
Okay.
dimensional data chart that's above is actually
Okay.
from the one before. That was from the what is that, the December 5th one? That has a comparison between the original.
Yeah, I think that was the one that had some typos in it, but I just wanted to clarify, nothing else has changed
Nothing else.
in the rest of it? Okay. Thank you.
Well,
And then the other thing I'll just ask briefly about, if you could, also, it was just received this week, was this open space exhibit plan?
Yes.
I did have a chance to take a little bit of a closer look at that, but could you just go through what that is and why you've provided that? That's the plan that's dated April 10th, 2023. It's a separate, single-page plan. It was prepared by Hayes.
I got one.
If you could just go through what you're showing on that and
So essentially, this is the revised footprint of the building with this shorter building, and we were kind of going back and forth trying to determine what we were gonna use open space as it's defined. And it clearly states that it needs to be 20 feet wide, and we were going back and forth about whether that had to be in both directions or not. So we tried to be as conservative as we can and only provided the numbers that these blue boxes are showing what we are calling the open space.
And then the note in this that says reduce porch steps to 5 feet wide, so that's reducing a bit of the footprint, is that correct?
Yeah, that's actually a porch piece that we just pulled in. It's just the staircase itself that we pulled over. It's not the building itself, and
Okay.
that was in order to just widen up that area a tiny bit in order to get the open space to where we wanted it to be.
Okay, so the footprint on this open space plan is correct in terms of the stairs, but it's not on this April 6th set, is that? There's a difference, we just need to, yeah.
It's corrected. You can see on the April 6th plan, the stairs are pulled in a couple of feet. They used to be the same width as the porch.
Okay, so that's correct. If these plans are approved as part of the special permit, there's no inconsistency there. They both are showing the same stairs, right?
I believe so, yes, they should be. Yes. Yes, they are.
Well, I'm asking just so there's not a question when they go to issue the permit, which plan are they building under, you know?
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions for the petitioner? If you could hold off for a second, after the presentation, we will then have, open it up to those that would like to speak in favor or in opposition. Okay, thank you. Anyone else from the board that has a question for the petitioner? Is there anything else you'd like to present, sir?
No, thanks.
Thank you very much. And at this,
If I could just quickly, could we just confirm we received comments from the city engineer just before 5. I emailed them to the petitioner and his attorney. Maybe we could give him a copy if he hasn't had a chance to look at this while we're going through the hearing. Do you want to do that or confirm that you received it?
I have not received it.
Okay, is that fine that we give out this April 12th, 2023? It was just received at 5:44.
okay, you're going to read it into the record?
I'm going to read it
after?
into the record for us, but that way they have a chance
Okay.
to look at it
No, that's
while we're
fine, as
doing
long
the
as you
hearing.
read it into the
Yes,
record.
I'm going to do that, yes, thank you.
Are you all set?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, at this point, I'd like to take anyone that would like to speak in favor of this petition. Anyone to speak in favor? Name and address for the record, please, and
Frank.
sign the,
Yep. Frank Bonanno, 82 Granville Ave.
thank you.
As I stated in the last time we were here, the house is an eyesore, and it's going to make a big impact on the neighborhood. I think it as a good asset for the neighborhood. Just, I've been looking at it out my kitchen window for the past, I don't know, 15, 20 years, and it's, you know, it's needed work. And I believe Mr. Motzkin's plan was to do something with the house in this manner. So I'm all in favor for it. That's all I have to say.
Well, thank you very much.
Yep.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak in favor? Anyone else speak in favor? And Michelle, do you have anything to read in favor?
No.
Seeing and hearing no one else that would like to speak in favor, declare that part of the hearing closed. Is there anyone that would like to speak in opposition to this petition? Anyone in opposition?
Can I ask some questions, please?
Are you in opposition?
I don't know yet, because I need some clarification. I'm the neighbor across.
Okay, why don't you come up and name and address for the record, and please sign the clipboard.
my name is Lily McAvey, and I live at Beard, 89 Beard Road, right, the property behind you, the property that is developing. So I do have a couple of questions technically for the
I'm
team.
sorry, 89 what street?
Baird
Oh, Baird,
Road.
okay.
So my property borderlines the property, and I'm down the slope. And because the property
Okay.
that you are gonna build up, it's on high slope, right? So I've heard today that you're not building on previous footprint, you are extending.
Excuse me, miss, can you please speak into the microphone?
I apologize.
And did you have an opportunity to attend the neighborhood meeting?
Can you repeat your question, sir?
Did you have an opportunity to attend their neighborhood meeting? You guys had a neighborhood meeting prior to this, right?
No,
Was
I
she
haven't
invited?
met them. So I apologize, I'll be very quick. So I'm the property on 89 Baird Road that borderlines with the current property on Granville Ave. So I've been living there for about 3 years, and I've noticed that my property is fenced. So I've seen in about 3 years, the fence slightly drips down, but it's just because the land kind of slides. So when I've heard and I've seen in the mail the current proposal, which I really welcome, by the way, because it's bringing the neighborhood and the town up. So we're really welcoming the new developments. The question that I have is technically how that will impact my property that is sitting down on the hill slope. And also, the city has a property between my property, that is city's property, right? On which we have trees, and it's also sloped up the hill, borderlines with 79 Granville. So this is a small part of the land that is the city's property and maintained by the neighborhood. So the question that I have, and that's what I'm not an architect, I apologize. Is that property gonna be taken in for the garages, for the parking? Or, so, because I apologize, I'm simple. So this is 89 down here, 79 Granville up the hill. The property I'm talking about borderlines mine and ends in Granville. So it's a very small parcel of land. So, and the question that I have, and it's really sloped, so my only concern and the question for this team, you guys, is to clarify for me what is the consequences if you're carving for my property and because it's fenced, it's built. I see some.
I got it, Eric. Thank you.
And this is my concern, sorry, I'm long, but.
You need to please speak into the microphone, and you should address the board with your questions, and
So
then
the
we can
questions-
try to resolve them. And just as a clarification, you're not actually a direct abutter. You're a couple, you're in the street that abuts the back of Granville Ave.
Correct.
You're
So
a couple lots
we
away.
are sharing that side wall, fenced wall that previous owners of my property built. And the reason that I'm asking is that my property and backyard is completely sloped, right? So it's the impact, I don't know what is the exact impact of carving or drilling or building the new stuff technically. So my question here, I'm coming first here to raise this question. You probably are aware of the landscape and so on. I just want to learn what is going to be the impact and obviously mitigation strategies that this council poses for in case, because I see some over 3 years, I see some consequences on my fence. So I just want to ask you guys.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now, Michelle, correct me if I'm wrong, or if you want to address, I don't believe there's supposed to be any excavation or blasting or chipping or anything like that, right?
Well, there's been no proposal to remove any ledge, and that would require a special permit. But I did just want to comment, if I could, Mr. Chair. I did have a conversation with Ms. McAvey on the phone, and I sent her an email because she called me. You contacted me with a lot of questions about erosion and whatnot. And the plan I sent you, and I'm looking at it now, you don't abut this property. You're 3 properties away. So you abut 92 Granville. You're on the other side of city-owned land, and then there are another row of houses. So the land you're talking about that's behind you isn't this property. It's a few properties away.
Oh, okay.
So it's not, and I didn't want to get too far, and I had sent you that map, and I think I recommended you speak to Councilor
I
Murphy.
did try to contact her, she never
Yeah.
answered, sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry we didn't speak again to clarify, but yeah, you are, you're not abutting this property. No portion of your property abuts this.
Well, thank you, that clarifies it all.
So,
Thank you.
yeah, just for the record. So, yeah, 89 Baird is an abutter, but they're not a direct abutter.
Okay. Thank you very much. Eric Henry, were you all set? Was that your point of order that you wanted her to speak into the microphone? Yes. Thank you. Yes, sir, Mr. Chair, thank you. Thank you. Kenny, you had a light on. Did you have anything? No? Okay. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in opposition to this petition? And name and address for the record, please. Please speak into the microphone and address the board.
Melissa Eckstein, 11 Granville Place. I have more of a clarifying question. In the initial plans, I believe that cars were going to access the parking behind by using Granville Place, and I just wanted to clarify if that is still the case or if they are going to use the existing driveway for 76 Granville Ave.
They are going to do both. They have changed it a little bit in that there are 2 spots and 2 guest spots going to be in the existing driveway off Granville Avenue, and then they're proposing to widen Granville Place and allow for better access, if I understood the presentation correctly, and there'll be 4 spots along the back of the lot.
How much will Granville Place
And
be
garage
widened?
access.
Okay. How much will Granville Place be widened by?
I don't know. Do you know, Michelle?
I did not know that was part of the proposal. Okay, by taking down the retaining wall, it becomes part of the proposal, I guess. You're right. So could take a quick look at the plans.
It's a private way.
It is, yes, it is a private way, so,
You won't out into the middle.
so it's saying it's 12 feet wide, at least the property boundaries of Granville Place are 12 feet wide. And it's still, this plan that I'm looking at, the layout plan prepared by Hayes Engineering, is still showing 12 feet wide. So I'm not sure, unless it's that the retaining wall is on Granville Place, maybe, no, it's not showing on the existing layout, so I'm not sure about that.
Okay.
This is showing the
Miss,
wall, yeah.
Did you get to attend the public hearing, the neighborhood meeting they had?
I didn't, I wasn't able to, no.
But you were notified?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Sir, do you mind coming up and speaking to, no, you can stay up here, miss. You can stay up here. If you could just reintroduce yourself to record and then address her comments of what's actually going to happen to Granville Place.
Jonathan Stone, O'Sullivan Architects.
Thank you.
So the retaining wall that is along Granville Place now, it varies in height. It is right on the property line. And we're proposing to remove that. We're going to provide space on our lot, because our lot line is right at the edge of the street. It's approximately 40 feet long, to provide an extra space that won't be landscaped so cars can pass each other there, instead of having to pull out of the way, because it's about 12 feet wide now. right? So we're saying, and we're about 5 feet, I think it's 5.2 actually from the house where it is now to the property line, but it's up on top of that wall. We're just gonna remove that wall so it gets down to the same grade as Granville Place is. All right, does that make sense? Does that help?
Does that answer your question, miss?
So what was the? So we're definitely accessing, there's parking in the front from Granville Ave, but there's also accessing down Granville Place in the back of the lot there as well.
Oh, miss, can you speak into the microphone, please? And
How many spaces are back there?
There are 2 garaged and 4 outside, so 6.
Oh, so,
Yeah, it's like this. I'll show you. I can show you right here. Those are under.
okay.
So you come down here, and there's these lined up back here.
Okay, and those
Yeah.
will all be accessed by Granville Place?
These ones will, yes.
Okay.
Well, these ones, I should say. Yes. I think that was your original question.
Yeah.
okay. What's that? Hold on a second. Let's wait until this young lady is finished.
So I believe for the board's reference, if you're looking at layout plan, which is sheet 2 of 6, you see an area along Granville that says proposed gravel area, proposed grass. That's where the retaining wall is now. So I believe that's the area that he's talking about.
Okay, so it will widen the street, or
Well,
the private way.
it won't widen the public way. You'll traverse onto their property if you want to pull over. It won't widen the public, it's not a public way, it's a private
No,
way.
it's a private way, right?
Yeah. There'll be area where you could pull onto their property,
Okay,
yeah.
okay. Anything else, miss?
Yeah, I think just the Granville Place is just very small, and so I think we would prefer cars not access it, because it is incredibly tight. So if there was a way to access those spots with using the existing driveway that is on the other side of the house, I think that would be preferable. But that's all I'll say.
Okay, thank you very much. Ken, you had a question.
So you'd mentioned, yes, actually, if you don't mind staying there.
Keep in
Your
mind, this is-
expectation, yeah.
This is in opposition.
Okay, I just want to clarify that. So your expectation is that people will be able to use that strip of grass to get,
It won't be grass, but yes, it'll
Okay.
be provided for cars to pass each other, yes.
to pass each other, so it's more of a pull-off, and you can pull off
Essentially, yes.
onto your property?
Yes.
Or the owner's property?
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Sure.
Okay,
But
thank
this
you.
is the 4.8, it's only 4.8 feet.
Okay. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in opposition? Yes, you're welcome to come up this and name and address for the record and sign the book, sign the list.
It's Marjorie Pearlstein, and I'm at 1 Fairview Avenue.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I do appreciate that they did address a lot of the questions that we had, but the one big question, or 2 big questions, is they did not really adjust for the density that they're proposing in this small neighborhood that is all owner-occupied 1- and 2-family homes. And that's a problem for me. And if they're going to be taking down this building to build something new, I don't see why we have to go according to all variances and not get it to be in some sort of compliance. We're understanding about grandfathering zoning laws, but there was a time when Malden wasn't paying attention and brought in zoning controls, and now is the opportunity to bring some of those into conformance, not in less conformance. And the other big point is, in 1994, James Motzkin owned the adjacent property to this property. Had he kept it, we probably wouldn't be here. But he sold it, and all that the zoning board allowed at that time was for 2 single families to be built on a parallel piece of property. That's all that's there. And we have 2 lovely residences there, They're neighbors, they've sent their children to school, they shovel, they come out and help when it's needed. It's a neighborhood. What I see now is this is an investment property going into our neighborhood. I can't see that it is an eyesore. It's going to be an eyesore again because no one's going to care for it. And it's going to deteriorate, so the capital investment is kept, and it's going to be ongoing. And I really don't want to look at that again. And I don't understand if the zoning laws got more stringent since 1994, and we only allowed 2 single families on the same plot, why we're even considering putting virtually 2 adjacent houses put together on that lot, one lot, that houses 3 times as many people. And cutting down a bedroom and cutting down 1 parking space, it's insignificant that's a bottleneck in our neighborhood. That is the smallest corner you're gonna get in our neighborhood. And this house sits right there in front of it. And I'd really rather see somebody live there. If we were talking about affordable housing, it would be a whole different ballgame. Whole different ballgame. If you were gonna have families there that needed the housing, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about transitional housing all of the time, rent gouging. It's just ridiculous in that neighborhood. And I would appreciate you considering your decision in 1994 for the same property and with more stringent controls, why you would even think of setting a precedence and setting this apartment building in our neighborhood. I have no idea. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in opposition?
My name is Arthur Burge. I live at 71 Granville Ave. I don't want to talk while I'm writing because I won't spell my name right. I spoke the last time. Hopefully I'll be a little clearer on what I say, because I do tend to ramble. I appreciate that the Mutskins they came to my house yesterday and they trying to explain some of the plans and wondered if I would support it, and I said, well, I'll have to see what this meeting brings. Nothing in this meeting makes me say, oh, let's jump on board this train. It's basically they're building a smaller house, adding a smaller house to a big house. Well, actually, if you looked at the plan, the addition is quite large. That house has been a 4-family house. I remember the 4 families as being one on the first floor, it was 2, maybe 3 bedrooms. Second floor was probably 2 bedrooms. The third floor, or 2.5 floors, they were 1 bedrooms, and I think 1 might have been a studio. So, yeah, there were 4 apartments. They weren't 2 bedrooms in them. 2 of them had 1 bedroom. Now, unless the people put a bed in another. They were small. I mean, there was the same footprint that they're gonna tear down. They had 4 apartments in there. Zoning, yeah, 4 families don't belong in the area. But if you can get 4 family in that footprint, it's fine. I don't want to see another house built on that lot. This is an opportunity. If they're going to tear it down, let's build something that doesn't need variances. And I feel bad for them. We made an investment in the property a long time ago when prices were a lot lower. But he's trying to make money. They're trying to make money. They're not going to be owner-occupied. They said, the gentleman said, well, you just work it out with your neighbors. That's why it's nice when you have a landlord there, someone that owns a house there. They can be the dictator and say, no, get your car the hell out of there. They did add the 2 extra spots. But I don't want to see that new addition. It's not becoming to the neighborhood. You hear people say, yes, it's an eyesore. It's been an eyesore. My feeling has been, it'll be an eyesore for a few more years and it's gonna collapse. So tearing it down and building back that same footprint, not extending it out, I would accept, even though it's not within variance. You have to have variances to do it. I mean, the widening of the driveway by 3 feet, I forgot what the dimension of Granville Place was. It sounded like it'd be very tricky in the winter to be 2 cars passing there. And it's only a section, it didn't sound like it was going from Granville Ave all the way to the back. It looked like it was like a cutout. I thought I heard the word said. So I don't think that's a practical solution to the thing, unless they put one of those things in like you have in the bakery. Take a number. When are you gonna leave the house? When are you gonna leave the street? That's what it's gonna be. There's gonna be a lot of cars coming in and out of there. And that's about what I have to say is this, you know, you don't have to build another house in the lot. Just, you tear that down. I mean, I know they're gonna have to do a new foundation. The old foundation is rubble stone and it's 4'6". I mean, 5 foot. I know I've been in the basement. Even as a 14-year-old, I was hitting my head. And I didn't get to 6 feet till I was like 15, so. So that's pretty much how I'm feeling on that. It is part of the neighborhood. That house is part of the neighborhood, so I feel that, the recommendation he's gonna do of taking the stairs that go down the front so you can see a little better, that's great, but he could do that on this rebuilding of 76 Granville Ave. And that's it for me, okay?
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in opposition?
Hi, thank you. My name is Barbara Murphy. I'm the Ward 5 City Councilor. And I live at 28 Forest Street, Malden, Massachusetts. So this is kind of a, obviously you guys have a decision to make this evening. I do want to recognize the fact that, from the initial design that was presented to us last summer, there's been a number of changes based on community input, which I do appreciate. I mean, there certainly has been movement. I think what we're faced here and what I said the last time I spoke to you is, we have a house that is in disrepair that is not really any benefit to the neighborhood at this point. So, we do need to find a consensus here so that the structure is repaired and that the neighborhood is happy with what's going on there. I appreciate the fact that they did reduce the size of what I called, not the addition, but the new house attached to the old house. So that was, I think, a good move. My personal preference is I would like to see if we're going to tear it down, it's going to be a demo job, and we're not going to hold them to any of the new zoning, then I think that, you've heard from the neighborhood, they'd like to see the existing, basically the footprint stay at the existing size of the house today. Obviously, that's your decision as to how you decide to move forward, but I think it's, you're talking about a 10,000 square foot lot with 8 bedrooms, 4 homes, and a number of cars that are going to be associated with that on a very busy street. Granville Ave has quite a bit of traffic on it, but in Granville Place, which is basically an oversized driveway. So I think, my preference, as I said, would be not to have that addition on the house, let them tear down the structure, put a new foundation in, redo the house, and leave either redesign it to have the 4 units that currently exist in that structure, or leave it at the 3 2-bedroom units that are showing there, which look, from the design would be, lovely, high-priced units. So, but I do believe that we do need to make a decision one way or the other, because leaving that structure there as it exists today for another 10 or 20 years is not a viable solution to the neighborhood. So, and I did just check, because I was going to ask, I haven't seen the recommendations yet. I know you said they just came out at 5:45. I was just trying to talk to Yemlip, the Director of Engineering. Maybe they came out early, Michelle, and I didn't see them. But, you know, one of the concerns I did have about Granville Place was that, you know, I did feel that if this development was going to go through, and I do really consider it more of a development of multifamilies, that that Granville Place should be paved, and that, you know, the Motzkin family, as part of the process, should pave that. I did just get a quick text from Mr. Lip that it seems like there's water service that needs to be done, and there's new connections that need to be done. But I believe from my texting with him that he's saying the city is going to pave it, but if they aren't, I would like to see that, should you choose to approve this, I would like to see that put in as a condition that Granville Place be repaved as part of this project. So, thank you.
I can give her the two.
Yes, thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in opposition? Anyone else to speak in opposition? Michelle, do you have anything to read in opposition?
No.
So seeing no one in opposition and nothing to read in opposition, declare that part of the hearing closed. Michelle, do you have a couple of general items you want to read in? Do you want to do that as part of your staff report, or would you prefer to do that at this point in time?
Yes, I can read this. This is a memorandum dated April 12, 2023, that was just received today. This is the comment letter that I was talking about, was just received before 5 today.
From the city engineer?
Yes, from the city engineer, Yemlip. And it reads, engineering has reviewed the above site plans sheets dated 1 through 6, dated December 5th, last revised March 9th, 2023, and offer the following comments. 1, the grading on the slope adjacent to the infiltration system is 1.5 to 1, and there is no surface material specified. If the surface is vegetated, flatten the slope to at least 2 to 1 and preferably 3 to 1. Riprap slope can be used with a slope of 1.5 to 1. 2, there was no stormwater report provided to the city, and there is no way to determine if the storage provided is adequate. The storm tech chambers are designed with the bottom of the stone elevation to be 85. The manufacturer's detail requires a minimum of 6 inches of stone under the chambers. That makes the chamber bottom elevation 85.5 and the overflow elevation 85.9, which leaves only 0.4 feet depth for storage. Provide the outlet pipe diameter from the catch basin. Provide the stormwater report for review. 3, no increase in stormwater runoff shall be allowed to flow onto the abutting properties. 4, as noted on the plan, the existing sewer and water are to be utilized if possible. Prior to issuance of a sewer connection permit, the sewer service must be video inspected and reviewed by the Malden Engineering Department. The plans show a fire protection service line but do not specify a size. Prior to issuance of a connection permit, the size of the fire service will need to be specified. The existing domestic water service should not be reused and will need to be cut and capped at the main. The size of the new domestic water service will need to be specified prior to the issuance of a connection permit. 5, the water service shall be bedded in sand with at least 6 inches all around the pipe. Water from the infiltration is allowed to drain through the sand and the water trench as an outlet for the infiltration system. Provide washed, crushed stone over the sand bedding throughout the full length of the water service trench. See attached detail. 6, all existing abandoned water, sewer, and drain lateral connections shall be cut and capped at the main lines. All work within the right-of-way shall be in accordance with the standards of the City of Malden. 7, the applicant shall provide timing shall provide project timing, schedules, and sequence of development, including clearing, stripping, rough grading, construction, final grading, and vegetative stabilization. 8, provide PDF copy of as-built of water service, sanitary sewer, and storm drain system, including engineer certification of detention, leaching basin, once site work is completed. 9, the applicant shall arrange with the city engineer for scheduling the following inspections, or shall have a qualified third party as determined by the city engineer perform the inspections and submit a detailed report as to their findings. First, the initial inspection prior to approval of any plan. This will include inspection of on-site soil investigation testing. Second, erosion control inspections after site clearing, rough grading, and final grading to ensure erosion control practices are in accord with the plan. Third, inspection prior to backfilling of any underground drainage or stormwater conveyance structures. And fourth, final inspection when all work, including construction of stormwater management facilities and landscaping, have been completed. If you have any questions or on the above comments or would like to discuss this further, please do not hesitate to contact the city engineer, Yemlip, directly. And that's dated April 12, 2023. You all have a copy of this in your package as well. So that was received.
Thank you very much. Is there anything else you need to read in?
No, I don't, I do not believe so, no.
Great, thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Michelle? If not, Michelle, I don't see any questions. If you can take us through your staff report, please.
Yes, okay, so just want to make sure everyone is aware, this development site is comprised of 2 separate parcels. So there's the one parcel, 76 Granville Avenue, that's the site of the existing 2.5-story 4-family dwelling. The second parcel is the vacant land behind it that has trees, vegetation, ledge, and a dirt area used for parking. So the proposal is to combine both the lots. They are not held in common ownership right now, but the proposal would be to merge them and hold them in common ownership. So the plans that you're looking at, in some cases you do see the property line, in other cases you don't, but just so that you know, there are 2 separate parcels that are the subject of this petition. This current petition is not precluded by law as a repetitive petition in accordance with state law, because the recent similar petition was allowed to be withdrawn without prejudice. So that repetitive petition law only applies if there was unfavorable action taken. So we heard about the petitioner, the petition, demolishing the existing dwelling, constructing the new 4-family. I've given you the square footage and configuration of the existing footprint, proposed footprint, total gross floor area existing, proposed new gross floor area. This information was taken off the plans. As you can see, the new dwelling is shown on a bigger lot. So the existing lot, the existing dwelling is on a 5,500 square foot lot. Under the proposal to combine the lots, the new dwelling would be on a lot that's 10,500 square feet. I'm just looking at a couple of these notes. There were some discrepancies in the plan, so I tried to call those out. We've received the new plans. I understand there were just typographical changes in them. So I can't speak to whether any of those discrepancies were resolved. I've given you the breakdown here, and I'm reading from the staff report dated April 12, 2023. It's incorporated here and by reference, even if I don't read it all verbatim. But I've shown you existing dwelling, number of bedrooms, location of units, square footage of the units, and then the proposed, same thing. Location of the units, square footage of the units, number of bedrooms. I've given a couple subtotals because in a couple cases, basement area was added, and in a couple it wasn't added, so it did get a little bit confusing. Please feel free to ask me any questions. I have given you the total of all floors existing, the total square footage of all floors new. That is where the overall increase is 3,151 square feet, or 72% that the chair was referencing. In terms of the increase in number of bedrooms, there seems to be a discrepancy about that as well. Petitioner's correspondence and city assessor's records indicate the existing dwelling has 6 bedrooms. The floor plans that submitted, although they don't label the rooms, state that there are 8 bedrooms. So either there's no increase in bedrooms or there is a 33% increase in the number of bedrooms with this proposal. These are the plans I've listed out, what's been submitted. I will note the set of plans referenced under number 2 should be revised to April 6, 2023. Again, those were just received last night, and so I did not update this report, which was finalized Monday. Given you the other information that was provided here, I won't read that into the record. You have copies of everything. In terms of zoning and occupancy, the property is located in the Residence A zoning district. The original use of the dwelling is unknown. Records indicate it was used as a 3-family in 1975. There are no permits on file for the conversion to a 3-family or 4-family. The existing 4-family dwelling is prohibited in the district. It predates the ordinance. It's considered pre-existing non-conforming. The proposed new dwelling extends this use and is considered an extension of the pre-existing non-conforming use that may be allowed by special permit, even though the use itself is prohibited in the district. Direct abutters to the north and west are single-family dwellings. To the east, on the other side of Granville Place, a single-family dwelling and 2-family dwellings. To the south, on the other side of Granville Avenue, a single-family dwelling and a 2-family dwelling. Surrounding land uses are residential, single and 2-family dwellings, and 1 multifamily dwelling. The existing building grossly violates all dimensional controls except height. It's considered pre-existing non-conforming. The proposal creates 1 side yard setback violation, eliminates the rear yard setback violation, and reduces the lot area, front yard setback, open space, and density violations. You can see I've given you the breakdown of existing deficiencies, new deficiencies for those different dimensional controls that are in violation. Couple notes here. Note 7, I believe, has been resolved. I'm sorry, it has not been resolved. Note 7 references existing open space. Existing lot coverage, discrepancy under 9, I believe, has been resolved because the open space exhibit, which indicates this 2,075 square feet of open space, is now also reflected in the architect's plans to be 2,075 as well. I will note this landscape area, I'm not sure, there is a number listed for that, 5,650. There weren't any details provided for that. And there's no requirement to have landscaped areas except if you're talking about all areas that aren't paved and used for parking must be landscaped. But there's no actual number requirement for that. Parking requirements, the existing 4-family dwelling requires 6 spaces under the applicable ordinance, which is 1.5 spaces per unit. There is a driveway off Granville Ave that runs along the dwelling to a parking area in the rear. They did not provide a parking layout. I would presume, based on the size, you probably could accommodate the 4 spaces, 4 maybe to 5 in the driveway and in the parking area in the back. The proposal, though, does comply with current requirements to provide 1 space per bedroom, so there are 8 spaces proposed on site. 2 in the garage under Unit 4 and 6 surface parking spaces. 2 in the southern front yard and 4 in the rear yard. I will note that the 2 tandem spaces that were referenced are not allowed under zoning. They may use the driveway for that, but under zoning, we only allow the tandem configuration for single and 2 families. So that wouldn't be an allowed configuration. So that's why we're only counting the 8 that conform to the zoning ordinance. Number 10, that discrepancy, that note, I believe, has been resolved because there are 8 depicted, and now it identifies there are 8 provided. In terms of access, 6 of the 8 spaces depicted require access via Granville Place. The other 2 spaces will have direct access via Granville Avenue. A note is just that Granville Place is a private way. It's unaccepted. It's not public, although the plan states it is public. And there are 2 proposed snow storage areas depicted. They appear to exceed the amount required. Demolition and alteration delay ordinance. The Malden Historical Commission reviewed the proposal pursuant to the city's demolition alteration delay ordinance, Title 4.24 of the Code of City of Malden, and approved the demolition without delay per the determination dated March 15, 2022. That's attached. And finally, the finding that you would need to make to grant the special permit, you would need to find that the proposal is not more detrimental to the neighborhood. If you make that finding, then you would be in a position to grant a special permit. Do you want me to give the recommendation?
Yes, please.
Okay. So the recommendation, which is prepared prior to the public hearing, and provided the board makes that required finding, is to grant the petition for special permit subject to the following conditions. 1, all development shall be as per plans, except as modified by these conditions. 2, merge parcel 76 Granville Avenue, parcel ID 104712208, in no number Granville Place, which is parcel ID 104712206, via the approval not required subdivision process, file a plan with the city for endorsement, and record the plan at the registry of deeds. 3, the maximum total number of bedrooms is 8. 4, I'm going to recommend a modified condition, which would be, because this was written before we had the recommendations of the city engineer, so 4, I would recommend be compliance with the recommendations and requirements of the city engineer as stated in its memo dated April 12, 2022.
2023?
2023, thank you, that's better, okay. On that note, I will note a couple of these requirements and conditions had to do with information that wasn't provided. So, for example, the stormwater report, they couldn't make a determination if it's adequate. So, providing the stormwater management report would be something that happens in the future. Then the city engineer will have to review it and determine whether the system on site is adequate. So, I'm not sure, as I'm stating that, the reason I'm bringing that up as an example is I'm not sure if we should make a statement that says install a stormwater management system subject to the approval and reasonable modification of the city engineer. In the event that what's shown isn't adequate, I don't want it to be read. I don't see in this report that it states they need to do that. So I want to make sure that's in there. So I think the modified condition 4, compliance, and also we should keep in install drainage and stormwater management system on site subject to approval and reasonable modification of city engineer, just to make sure that's covered.
Yep.
So we'll modify 4 to that. 5, no additional paving of any yard areas. Maintain all yard areas open space and landscaped with walkways, grass, lawn, shrubbery, and trees as per plans. We don't actually have a landscaping plan. You see landscaping on the plan. So if there's anything in particular other than what's stated there, for example, I believe, well, I see, and you can see from the pictures, there are trees in the back. If there's anything in particular that you would want maintained, that should be specified. They are showing them, you know, there's a graphic depiction of the trees in this area, but I'm not sure if those are existing trees or proposed new trees. So if you want anything specific about that, we should get that documented now. Because again, I'm not sure if these are existing, so.
Well, the question I have
yes.
about that is with this no additional paving,
Yes,
I don't understand how that is going to be applied to Granville Place. I'm concerned that Granville Place, there really isn't been any definitive presentation about how they're going to improve Granville Place to accommodate 75% of the parking and associated with the lot.
right, I was gonna
that
get to,
different?
I was gonna get to the Granville Place area issue in a minute. I was also going to address this so-called gravel area that they're gonna maintain for turnaround. But this is no additional paving of yard areas is what's on their property. So Granville Place isn't on their property.
Right, but don't they own out to the middle of Granville Place?
They have rights to pass and repass and access. They don't pay taxes
don't
on
own it?
Granville Place.
Okay.
They do not own it. No.
And on this page 1 of 6,
Yes.
where would the current retaining wall reside? They said it went right up to the lot line.
Yes, yes. The retaining wall runs along the property line, and it encroaches a little bit onto Granville Place. If you look at this site plan, the existing site plan, you can see the edge of the wall. It's
But-
broken in a couple spots. So this section here that's shown as gravel, which I think we should actually really not look at the architect's plan, you should look at the site layout plan. That shows proposed gravel area. It's 4.8 feet wide and approximately 40 feet long. It's not the length of the entire existing house or the new building. It ends probably 2/3 of the way. So the existing footprint, or the new footprint's 58 feet long. I'm estimating it's probably 40 to 45. We should get clarification on that, because I would recommend a condition that states maintain gravel area open on, adjacent to Granville Place along the northern side of the property, so that a future owner can't put up a fence or cover it with grass or do something else, so that this idea of using it, if you're moving in that direction, this idea of having that open so cars can pull over a bit. Again, it's only 4.8 feet wide, and I don't know how close they're gonna get to the house, the foundation wall, how close you'd want a car pulling, but it's a limited area. But if you, I would think at least want to state that they're gonna maintain that area open. So on, it can be gravel, but it can't be used for anything else. If you, again, and that's only the length of that. We should get clarification on exactly how long it is. It's showing it 4.8 feet wide. Maybe we shouldn't say 4.8 feet wide, because that's to the foundation wall. We want to put something in there if you're going to try to make that an enforceable condition. That's regulating use of their property, so that's reasonable for you to put a condition in. The Granville Place issue is another issue that we have to talk about.
Okay.
So 5 was regarding the paving of yard areas and landscaping of their property. We can go, might as well, I had that as 8, but we can make that the new 6, what we just talked about. Maintain gravel area, maintain area adjacent along northern side, open, and you could say and gravel along Granville Place, and then I think you need to specify a dimension if you want to put a dimension in there.
What would
Maybe.
you recommend?
I mean, I guess I would say 4, it's showing at 4.8, so I guess you could say 4, and I don't know if they could quickly provide it. I'm estimating it's 40. It might be more or less than 40. I don't have that, it's not marked off here, and I don't have a scale, so. I mean, it's at least, I would say 30, 35. I'm not sure if it's 40. It's not 58. Do you want to ask for clarification on that?
Well,
Maybe
go through the other
engineer
ones
knows.
and we
Okay.
can come back
So
to
you
that.
we want to add that. That would be the new 6. So the new 7 would be all retaining walls shall comply with the maximum height requirements of the zoning ordinance, or must seek and obtain a variance. The maximum height is 6 feet. And then 8 would be any ledge removal by any means excluding utilities shall require a special permit per the zoning ordinance. That's in the zoning ordinance, but I would recommend it be put in as a condition so there's no question. And then 9 was the condition I would recommend regarding Granville Place. I'm not sure how you want to go about that. Granville Place is not privately, it's not owned by the petitioner. So you'll be asking them to make improvements, which I think they can make improvements. They have rights to pass and repass. I'm just not sure about things like liability and things like that. Asking a private owner to improve that, I'm not sure how that works from the city's perspective.
Okay.
So I'll leave it at that. I'm not saying you can't do it, I'm just not sure. And I would say that would be definitely a condition you would want the petitioner to state his agreement to do if it's going to happen.
Okay. Give me a second,
Yeah.
and if you're finished, Eric Henry.
Yes.
Yes, thanks, Mr. Chair. Maybe a point of clarification here as it relates to private ways. I was under the understanding that if you as a homeowner had frontage on a private way, you actually owned out to the middle of the street.
And I had the same understanding.
I mean, you don't own it for tax purposes. You have rights to it. You can't block passage, or you have access. You couldn't put a fence up in the middle of it and use it as your yard. You have rights to pass and repass, but so doesn't the rest of the public. But that's not privately owned. They don't own it. They may, you know, there are rights to it. It doesn't give you rights for frontage purposes or for zoning purposes. So I don't believe there's not that type of legal right to it. Which is why, you know, if they were trying to build a house on the back lot, they don't have frontage. That private way doesn't accrue any rights for frontage. I believe many private ways, and I don't have the list here, are used and maintained as public ways. So there is trash pickup, there is snow plowing, there is things like that. So the city has maintenance rights over it. So
My
this
own street is the same.
right, this is a confusing, each one is different really, I think, in the city, or there were different groups of them.
Well, yeah, that's, again, just goes to my question, a point of clarification. So there's no continuity, no unification about what a private way is and how this is, because the counselor brought up the point of I think I've heard it, maybe not one, that maybe that Granville Place be paved by the petitioner. So my first thought was I could see them taking ownership of and owners to pave up to half of the street, or being, you know, neighborly or whatever to pay but who owns the other half of the street? Where's this point of ownership with regards to that? How can we ask a petitioner to do something that it's not his property?
Well, you could ask if you're tying it to the reasonable use of their own property. But that's why you would want them to agree to it. So this Granville Place isn't owned by anybody. There's no tax bill sent out, there's no parcel ID for it. It's essentially a paper street that's been partially improved, I would call it. So at one point, I believe, the city probably had a plan to connect, because it is shown on city maps. But if you were gonna ask a petitioner to make improvements, like I said, there would have to be some strings attached, if you will. They should agree to it, consent to do it. You're not, you know, Granville Place isn't before you as part of this property. When they record their decision, if a decision's rendered to grant a special permit, it's only runs with the property, which is these two parcels.
Understanding that differentiation, I mean, but Granville Place is definitely a part of this conversation now, so.
Yes.
And also would just say secondly, I'm definitely not a very big proponent of impartial plans, especially as it relates to stormwater, drain water plans. I don't understand why these, I thought the petitioner presented drawings and spoke to stormwater, drain water when they first were before us, but now I find it kind of, you know, surprising that the city engineer has no stormwater, drain water plans to review and is, you know, requesting these things, and we're being asked to approve something that the city engineer has not actually already signed off on. So with that, I'll yield.
Yet if I could, Mr. Chair, on that note, there were plans that submitted that showed stormwater systems. They didn't provide the calculations in the report to back up what's shown on the plans. That's what the issue is. So these are there were plans provided, but they didn't provide the information that goes with the plans, which is the report part of it, the numbers, to show that it's going to work. That's my understanding of it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Ken Antonucci.
Michelle, in other petitions, we do ask that a property owner make improvements to sidewalks, traffic improvements and things like that, that they don't own the sidewalks. So why would it be out of the question to ask for some improvements of the private way? Wouldn't that be similar?
Yes, I don't think it's out of the question, but on all those, they have to agree to it, and the city would need to agree to it. That's the other thing. When you require the improvements to sidewalks and driveways and curbs, it's subject to the DPW. So if you put something in here, and I guess I should have said that, there needs to be some,
Subject to.
boundaries and description about it. I'm just reading the ordinance about, improvements to private ways. So the city can make them. They can include, this is city, installation, construction, reconstruction, resurfacing, in whole or in part. If this section that's Mass General Laws, I'm gonna look up, it applies to repairs to private ways and says the city shall not be liable for damage caused by repairs. So I'm pretty sure, that's the section that says private landowners can make improvements. So that's the other issue with liability I'm not 100% sure of. I don't know if, anybody else, if the counselor has any information or Nelson Miller has any information. She's not here anymore, okay.
Well, the other thing would be who would determine, like, the specifications of the repairs? Like, if we were to ask, them to repave Granville Place to the length of their property on Granville Place, to the subject, to the approval of.
The DPW.
The DPW.
Yes.
And then the DPW would need to set the specifications for it. Now, it's not a city street, so they couldn't use, like city street specifications, most likely, but, there would have to be some type of recommendation or negotiation on the specifications of what how the road would be rebuilt.
That's right. And I don't have that info. The city engineer, I did ask, I want you to know, I said, do you have any recommendations in addition to reviewing stormwater management? I asked, were there any recommendations about Granville Place? Because I did let them know that the access issue came up last time. And I read what we received. I didn't receive any comments. I don't know if the council was stating she had received something in addition from the city engineer about Granville Place, but all I have received is that I read.
Because the chair did make up a very good point, bring up a good point, we're talking about no improvements to Granville Place, yet access to 75% of the parking that is via Granville Place.
Right, and if you want more information on it, unfortunately, I don't have it right now, so I'm just giving you as much as I have. Our ordinance also contains a section that says city council may assess betterments upon owners of lands which derive particular benefit or advantage from the making of repairs to private ways. So, I'm not sure. I think they're all very, they're handled, there are different groups handled different types of private ways handled differently throughout the city. Like I said, some are actual paper streets, they're not even built. Some are partially improved. Some are used and maintained as public. I believe the houses on Granville Place have trash. I think I saw trash barrels. I believe they might have city trash pickup. I'm not sure about the plowing, and I'm sure they have mail delivery, so this is one of those that's maybe different from where, Eric lives, that private way. I'm not sure, I don't have any more info.
Yes.
Okay, Ronnie Verma.
So it sounds like Granville Place is kind of, even though it's a private way, it's acting as an easement, so the owner does have a responsibility to maintain that, up till their property line. So it's a private way that's acting as a public easement, so they do have a responsibility. My understanding of easements is that they do have a responsibility to maintain, like a viable route there. So I think, while we call it a private way, it's a public easement, that's a private way. So that's I think that's where this is falling into, is a public easement, that's a private way. So they do have a responsibility. My understanding of this is that they would have a responsibility to maintain a portion of that.
mean, to that note, there is a fire hydrant, I mean, there is a city, you know, water service that runs through it, so I mean, the city is doing some maintenance to it. I don't know about the paving and repairing, though.
Okay, does anyone else have any other questions for Michelle? It seems like we've got a few open ones. One, the landscaping plan. Two is Granville Place. I guess widening and paving. And then the third one was about was it number 5 on no additional paving? Was that the other one? Because we needed to get the dimension?
The new 5, I'm sorry, the new 6, it was the new 6, about maintaining the area adjacent to Granville Place along the northern side of the property open and maybe say with gravel, but I would say you should have a dimension. I will note what you just said, widening Granville Place. I don't think we can widen Granville Place. I think it's 12 feet wide, and you can't require it widened per se, because it's got property lines, you know?
Okay, I struggle then to see how that's actually a viable option.
I mean, repairing or repaving it, you could, again, I think if the petitioner agrees to it and you set it to be to DPW standards, I think you could do that. I think you could do that, but.
Okay, Stephanie Stone.
Was there discussion about the driveway in the last hearing? Why it's not being utilized and Granville Place would have to be utilized for the rear parking? Is the driveway being eliminated due to other restrictions being placed or other considerations like open space or access to the new structure?
I don't believe it was discussed at the last meeting, but I will note that some of the open space is in that area, so that would be one consideration. There's also a severe grade change at the back of the lot. It drops off, so I'm not sure if that's why, if you were to try to connect the existing driveway down to that vacant lot, and you can see in some of the pictures how you can see the height of the retaining wall, you can see how far it drops off. I presume that's why it wasn't done, because you would need to slope the driveway down to get to that, if you continued to extend it or raise the back part up. I think if you come in off Granville Place, you're coming in at level. But so if you were gonna consider asking or proposing that be done, you would have to then also propose for the open space to be readdressed, because that is definitely on this plan. At the end of the proposed parking, that's where 1,000 square feet of this is, and open space can't be used for access or parking. So you wouldn't, if the driveway does extend down, you're gonna lose some of that open space, but, I mean, that's an idea. I don't know, you can see some of the grade lines on the plan, so you can see how it drops off. And you can see there's a new proposed retaining wall, I believe. PRW proposed wall. So, that would be something, if you wanted to explore, I would say you would want to see a plan showing that. That, I don't think would be a modification you would do as part of a condition. I would say, if you're in that position, you maybe want to table it and get a revised plan to show that. So you'll know exactly where open space is and how this is going to work, if you're going to propose that. That would be my recommendation.
Okay. Does that answer your question, Stephanie? Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions? Okay, if no one else has any other questions, I will make a couple comments. I still think the unit is too big. I think it's disingenuous to call it keeping the four-family that exists now when you're tearing it down, making it so much bigger, and then adding that piece onto the back lot. I just think the increase in the size is just more than rebuilding it is warrants, or warrants being able to say you're just tearing it down and rebuilding the same thing that was there. Just a more modern or more economical, efficient structure. I think this is a significant increase. I also don't like the fact that, and we don't seem to have the answers, so I don't like the fact that accessing 6 of the 8 parking spots on Granville Place without more clarity and more understanding of what the petition is going to do to improve being able to pass back and forth. I don't feel comfortable voting in favor of this without knowing that. I'd also like to see a landscaping plan, because I guess I was presuming what was on this rendering, what was going to be considered the landscaping plan and what they were going to provide. The green space, the pervious walkway, the different trees and shrubs and things like that. But I don't know if that's feasible to assume that, given the uncertainty with Granville Place. But those are a few of my concerns at the moment. And if anyone else has any others they want to share, or any questions they want to ask, or anything else, feel free to hit your light. Ken Antonucci.
Would this be the proper time for a motion to add a additional condition? Or is this still like a question period?
Well, yeah, if you want to, if you feel you know enough stuff to move forward and take a vote on it and want to add another condition, this would be, you can certainly suggest that.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Eric McCush.
Thank you. Just a question for Michelle. Last time I had asked if, with the commercial property, if you don't use the special permit for 2 years, you lose that right for that special permit. And you weren't sure if that applied for residential properties.
The special permits expire a year from date of granting unless you specify otherwise. I think you might have been asking about the nonconforming status, if that expires, if it's been vacant for 2 years.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, that applies to all properties. What I think if it's determined to be abandoned or not used for 2 years. And I think this property does not have that status. I think the building commissioner made that determination, that's why he processed the case. If it had lost its nonconforming status, it would never have come to you. It would have reverted back to Residence A. Okay. What's allowed in A. So I think we have to take that as the determination's been made. I understand it may be vacant now, but I think it maybe hasn't triggered that abandonment status yet.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Patrick Hayes.
Thank you. I just want to say that I'm in agreement with a lot of what you're saying there, Chuck. If you recall, I was the one who made the motion to allow the petitioner to withdraw without prejudice. At our last meeting, my hope was that the project would actually be different than what we see. I can certainly appreciate the measures that were taken to make it smaller, but I think, building a second house behind the existing structure is just too much for that site. And I don't think I can see this going forward tonight myself. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or conditions that want to be added, or? Okay, Eric McCush.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to deny the special permit.
Eric McCush has made a motion to deny. Ken Antonucci.
I'd like to second that motion.
Ken seconded it.
So a yes vote is to deny the special permit.
Yes.
Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm as ready as I'm gonna be, I think.
Okay. So yes vote is to deny. Ken Antonucci?
Yes.
Tawadej Geber Selassie?
Yes.
Risa Gray?
Yes.
Patrick Hayes?
Yes.
Eric Henry?
No.
Eric McCush?
Yes.
Stephanie Stone?
Yes.
Ronnie Raj Verma?
Oh, give me a second, Ron, I'm caught up here. There you go.
Yes.
Chuck Ioben?
Yes.
So 8-1, that motion carried to deny.
Okay, the petition has been denied. And thank you very much for coming out this evening. Yep. Diana, sorry about that. I'm sorry about that we had to start before you got here.
I was trying to get my act together to email you to say, no, they finished quick, pretty quick.
Yeah, but sorry about that. I wish we could have waited, but we really couldn't. Oh, man. I feel awful. I feel awful. No? Oh, yeah, just in general. I am.
You were sick last month.
No.
Earlier, like earlier in the month, weren't you?
No. No, this is in the last week. Yes, it was you.
And you know, that just came out of nowhere.
Yeah?
I just started coughing, I couldn't stop. Right when we were at the,
That meeting last week. Okay, so, okay, the next item on the agenda is 36 Charles Street. Michelle, is there a new report? Yes. Yes, here we go.
No, not the last one. No, that's not that, no. That's last year. It's right after the agenda. So this is 36 Charles Street, and Chuck was just asking, so right after the agenda, the report dated April 12th, 2023, that's the one you should be looking at. The other attachments are the staff report, the planning board's report to the city council last year, and then you also have the special permit that the city council granted. So this is 36 Charles Street. There's an application to extend the special permit that was granted in case number 202-22. It's for a marijuana establishment, marijuana retailer. So you may submit an advisory report and recommendation regarding the petition to the special permit granting authority, which is the city council. So the proposal was approved by the city's Cannabis Licensing Enforcement Commission to proceed to the zoning process. On March 9th, 2022, the planning board made an advisory recommendation to the city council that the petition be denied. You have a copy of that recommendation. The board also recommended conditions to any special permit that might be granted. So your recommendation was to deny, but then you put in as a note, if a special permit's granted, you recommended conditions. April 26, 2022, the City Council granted a special permit to allow use of the property for marijuana retailer, subject to 20 conditions. You have a copy of the decision. That's the case -202-20, 202-22. August 9th, 2022, the city and petitioner executed a community host agreement, or host community agreement. There are a couple of the procedural steps they'll need to take, namely getting a license from the State Cannabis Control Commission, and then also obtaining a license from the city's licensing enforcement commission. So they've taken those few steps so far, but those last two they have not taken. So this is the same petitioner as the petitioner for the last petition that was approved. So it's the same proposed tenant. So the petition seeks to extend the expiration date of the special permit granted in case -202-22 for 9 months. In the, I believe you all have a copy as well of this. It looks like this. It's an appeal form. In it, they have stated the requesting an extension for 9 months. They talk about delays caused by the pandemic, cost estimates, funding issues, finances, delays in the supply chain, et cetera. So they've given the reasons there. So the special permit will expire April 26, 2023. So that's 1 year from the date that the City Council granted the special permit. Because substantial construction or use has not commenced, and the special permit didn't specify a later expiration date. So it's automatically going to be the 1 year. The petition proposes no changes to the plans that were approved by the special permit that was granted in that case, or the conditions of the special permit. I'm going to call your attention to several conditions of case 202-22. These particular conditions, namely conditions 2, 3, and 19, modified the original proposal with respect to the size of the premises and parking. So condition 2 was one of the ones that you had recommended, authorizing the retailer to use only 4,006 square feet of the first floor as per the plans, specifically noting 1,794 square feet for retail space, 1,446 square feet for delivery area, indoor trash, the remainder for accessory offices and common areas. So all the other areas of the building that were labeled storage, totaling 9,018 square feet, were to remain vacant, be used for no purpose whatsoever, including storage, and by the marijuana retailer. And any use or occupancy would require an amendment to the special permit. So that particular condition reduced the size of the premises to 4,006 square feet. Another condition that was put in the special permit had to do with the loading and delivery area being used for parking during retail hours. Now, you had recommended it not be used. The council considered that and decided to allow it should be used to allow them to create a few more parking spaces on site. Even if they weren't in accordance with the zoning, they were some additional parking. And then finally, condition 19, some additional parking that would be available during retail hours when loading and delivery wasn't being used. You may recall that the petitioner had, I believe, proposed 4 spaces in that area. And then finally, condition 19 of the special permit, which was required by the City Council, or created by the City Council, this particular condition was that they provide 5 off-site parking spaces. I'm calling your attention to those conditions because your original recommendation was to deny the petition based on the gross and egregious violations, the parking deficiencies that were created if the entire premises were going to be used. And noting there was limited parking, extremely limited parking on site. Specifically, they were short 44 spaces or 85% of the required parking if they were to use the entire building. In terms of zoning, I've given you the Planning Board report and recommendation dated March 9th, 2022. That goes through all the zoning. I'm not going to go through that. It's incorporated here and by reference. Since that special permit was granted, the use regulations for marijuana establishments were amended as follows. And these particular use regulations are applicable to the proposal. So one had to do with pre-existing non-conforming buildings. This particular amendment, the board may recall, you had a public hearing on it last year, codified what the current protocol is, which is the special permit granting authority can take into account creation or increase in violations of dimensional controls or parking requirements when it's hearing the special permit. If they make a finding that the creation or increase in violation of dimensional controls or parking requirements will not be more detrimental to the neighborhood, then they may be allowed by special permit and would not require variance. That is what happened with this case last year. Before this amendment was in place, the city council looked at the creation of dimensional controls and parking violation, looked at the increase in creation of violations, and determined they would not be more detrimental to the neighborhood. This provision codified exactly what they did and exactly what this board typically does as well. The second amendment to use regulations had to do with, that's been put in since this permit was granted, has to do with security plans. Now the requirement is that the petitioner design and implement a security plan approved by the Malden Police Chief and Malden Cannabis Licensing Enforcement Commission. So again, when the special permit was granted, there was a different requirement. It specified the details of what the security plan could include. Again, this board probably remembers last year you had a hearing, and that particular amendment ended up being changed by the city council after that joint hearing that you held. And then finally, licenses and approvals. The section of use regulations regarding licenses and approval also changed. Again, you held the public hearing with the city council on it, and a few months later, they made the changes to the ordinance. Basically, changed it to read what the text is here, which basically just now reflects what the actual procedural order for licensing and approvals is. The petition that's requesting the extension of the expiration does not affect the proposal's compliance with any of these use regulations. Dimensional controls, again, you have the staff report, the planning board's report dated March 9th, 2022. Since the special permit was granted for this petition, there have been no changes to dimensional controls that are applicable to the proposal. And again, the petition does not affect the proposal's compliance with or violations of the dimensional controls. You may recall that was a pre-existing non-conforming building, so there were violations of dimensional controls. In terms of parking and loading requirements, again, you have a copy of the board's report and recommendation dated March 9th, 2022. Since the special permit was granted, there have been no changes to parking and loading requirements. And again, the petition does not affect the proposal's compliance with or violation of parking and loading requirements. These are the findings required to grant a special permit. These are the findings that the city council must make. I've just put them here for your reference. You don't need to make any of these findings to make an advisory recommendation. The recommendation is that the planning board recommend to the city council approval of the extension of the special permit granted in case number 202-22, only provided subject to the following 20 conditions of case 202-22. Do you want me to read them, or?
No, I don't
Okay.
think we need them.
So-
But the question I do have is,
They're listed here for everyone's reference, the 20 conditions.
okay, the question I do have is, would it be appropriate to suggest 12 months instead of the 9?
You could do
I mean,
that.
it's only a recommendation to the council, but the reality is they're caught in a process that might take longer than they're anticipating. It's already taken longer.
Right.
So,
I mean, it's up to you if you want to recommend it. I presume the council is going to grant more than 9 months when it holds the hearing. The council's going to hold a public hearing on this petition. They'll receive your recommendation in, and I presume the petitioner is going to ask yes. I mean, it's going to take a couple months just to get to that, so some of that 9 months is going to be you could recommend it. You could recommend a year. You could recommend 18 months. I chose not to put it in because I presume it's going to be addressed at the city council level. So unless you really had a preference that you think it should only be 6 months, or you really think it should be 2 years, I would leave it up to.
I just don't know that 9 months is gonna be enough. I think just going through the back and forth, the approvals and different things they need to do, they're gonna burn that up.
Yeah.
And that a year might be more appropriate, but.
Yeah, I think they're
if you-
probably gonna get to that, but if you wanna put that in writing, you can either, I guess that's the thing, you could make that part of your recommendation, in addition to the conditions. The other option, you could, if you thought it should be more than a year, you could recommend a condition that specified an expiration date. That would be the way to take it out of that 1 year. If you put in, which you do sometimes on your special
But if we
permits.
put in for a year and they're bumping up against that, they can just request another extension, right?
Right. It's gonna be a year anyway. You don't, I guess that's my point. They're basically gonna reissue the special permit. They're gonna renew it. They're gonna grant the same special permit again, and then that year's gonna start at that point. So there's probably no reason to say a year, because it's gonna be a year by statute.
Okay, if you think that's
Yes.
fine, I was just
I
thinking
would
that,
specify if you think it should be more than a year.
that 9 months seems to be too short.
Yes.
That's my only point.
Yeah, 9 months isn't even what the statute gives them a year. So
Okay.
I don't, unless you wanna move beyond the year, I don't think you should say anything.
No, I'm not ready to do that, but, you know, I'm certainly not opposed if in another year, and they have compelling reasons.
Would have to come back.
Right. Okay,
Unless, again, the council
Okay.
puts in another condition. And I'll just call you, I won't read the conditions, but I do want to note the highlighted conditions are different from the ones you recommended. Not saying they're better or worse, they are different, though. 17 through 20 are new, you hadn't recommended those at all. 3 is a version of what you recommended, except it says they may use the area for parking, you had recommended against it. And then also just note 9 and 16 reflect those amendments that we just talked about. The new
Okay.
language for security plan and licensing and approval process.
okay, thank you.
And again, this would just be an advisory recommendation. It will be given to the council and taken in at the public hearing.
Is there anyone who has any questions for Michelle, or is there a motion? Ken Antonucci.
I'd like to recommend extending for 12 months.
So make an advisory recommendation to extend for the, do you want to say 12 months in it? Or do you want it as it's written?
If you don't think the 12 months needs to be stated, because Michelle thinks that's by statute, I guess it just seems odd to extend it without stating a duration. To
Okay,
me, so I would say 12 months.
okay, so you want to recommend the,
Extension for 12 months. With the 20 conditions. Making that recommendation to the city council.
okay, Patrick Hayes.
I'll second.
Very good.
Who is voting on this, Mr. Chair?
Let's see, Diane's here, so Diane will vote on it, and Stephanie Stone will vote on it. Ronnie Raj Verma will not vote on this one. And then the next time we have it, you'll be up next.
So to make an advisory recommendation to grant the extension for 12 months, subject to the 20 conditions. It's a special permit subject to the 20 conditions. Ken Antonucci?
Give me a second here, go ahead.
Ken Antonucci?
Yes.
Diane Shuha?
Yes.
Tawadej Gebrselassie?
Yes.
Risa Gray?
Yes.
Patrick Hayes?
Hold on, you're going a little fast.
Yes.
Eric Henry?
Yes.
Eric McCush?
Yes.
Stephanie Stone?
Yes.
Chuck Iovan?
Yes.
So 9-0, we'll make that advisory recommendation.
Thank you. The only other couple items on the agenda is, Eric, do you have a update from the Community Preservation Committee? Give me, oh, wrong Eric's up.
Yes, thanks, Mr. Chair. Community Preservation Committee will meet again next Wednesday. Last meeting, one of the particular things we heard and approved, a vote of 3-2, was to allow the Affordable Housing Trust Fund to control that portion of CPA funding as it relates to housing. So In essence, the Community Preservation Committee has yielded control of the housing portion of that revenue to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. And secondly, I'd like to say that we have a survey out online, and we are highly encouraging that you, the planning board, and all other members of the city, and specifically other committees and boards in the city, actively participate in this survey and provide your feedback as to the way you'd like to see things to be proceed going forward. And unless we have any other questions or comments, yes.
Ken Antonucci.
Eric, I just wanted to understand, so you said the CPC agreed to yield control of the housing portion of the funds to the Affordable Housing Trust? Do you
Yes,
mean
and that's-
the actual approval, not the approval of the funds, but the distribution of the funds?
In essence, it was granted that on a trial basis for a year, the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, there was like $300,000 in the fund that was dedicated toward housing, and that revenue has been, control of that revenue has been granted to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund such that they can be, as it seems, be more nimble in their negotiating processes as they move forward to try to bring affordable housing to the city of Malden.
So CPC approves the funding and the affordable housing basically does the distribution as they see fit.
It will come to the CPC, but for all intents and purposes, if you were to, as a member of the city of Malden, you had an issue that you felt that the affordable housing, that the CPC could address as it relates to housing, and granted, there's not been a significant number of applicants for these resources, but even in the future, definitely as it relates to the next year, in the future, if that were to happen, if we were to see some requests like that, we would have to refer those individuals to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund or to other city entities. The Office of Strategic Planning and Development may be able to further assist them with that.
Okay, well, thanks.
Yes, sir.
That's good.
Thank you. Anyone else for Eric? No, thank you, Eric. Appreciate the update.
More than welcome.
Eric Henry.
No, I was.
Clicking off. Okay, no, very good. The only other thing I would like to say is remind everyone we have our conflict of interest training that's due in the next week. So I just encourage everyone to try to take that.
You don't have to send it, yes. It goes into the system and the city can see that you did it. You don't have to do what you did last time, which was email it to me. But I was gonna send out an email reminder tomorrow so that everybody will have the link. And you can just click on that and do it.
Okay.
No, there's glitches, because I was 5 minutes to the end, and it went.
Really?
I was not happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't skip ahead, but there's only a few questions. If you knew the material.
Yeah.
Yeah. You do have to, it clicks on, once you put in your email, it will know who you are, and the city gets a report.
You have to click on Malden, I think it's.
Yeah, I think you put Malden in, and then I think you pick.
It wasn't that hard to figure out.
Yeah, so, but I'll send that a reminder tomorrow, so everybody will have the link.
Thank you, Michelle. Next meeting is scheduled for May 10th. If there's nothing else, if no one has anything else, motion to adjourn. Diane Chuha, second. Eraser Gray. Okay, thank you all very much, and thank you all again for coming out last week to that presentation. We weren't sure exactly what it was supposed to happen, and how it was supposed to work, but I think it was informative, and thank you all for showing your support by showing up. Thank you, and have a great weekend, guys.
Do you have like a cough too, or is it just?
No,